Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Females Thriving Over 30 podcast. What if I told you that the anxiety, brain fog, exhaustion, weight gain, and sleepless nights you've been blaming on stress could actually be the start of perimenopause? Most women aren't taught about it until they are already living through it. So today we're breaking the silence around one of the biggest health transitions women experience, and why knowing the signs sooner could completely change the way you navigate your 30s and your 40s. So today I am by myself because Jasmine is in a very well-deserved holiday in Spain, and I am so jealous of that. I wish I was in Spain too, in the sun, relaxing, because let me tell you, I do need some relaxing. And today is also the end of the season. We are saying goodbye to season 7. It has been an incredible season. I have to say that I think since like maybe the second season that we had on the podcast, this is the first season where we didn't have that many duo episodes, and I think it's because we had like a shorter time frame to be able to kind of like fit everybody in before taking the break before season 8. And because we had such incredible guests, we were like, we cannot just secure these guests for September time because the topics are so good. So let's just go in it and just interview after interview after interview. But I have to say, I do miss our duo episodes. I do miss them so much. So I promise that in the next season, we are actually going to be doing way more duo episodes. And as always, we would really like to hear from you to know the type of topics that you would like us to talk about in the next season, just being either duo episodes or interviews with people. If you have recommendations of someone that you would like us to have on the podcast, someone you want to hear from, please let us know, because, you know, that's what we're doing. We're just trying to reach out a lot of people. We have quite a lot of people in the pipeline that we have contacted to. We're waiting for their teams to get in touch to see when are they available. They're really good, strong females that I think are going to be very interesting to hear from. Now, what have I been doing this past week? Because we always talk about what we have done in the past week. So I'm just taking my phone and I'm going through my calendar to see what I have been going through. I think the first thing that I'm just going to say is I watched a new Netflix documentary, true crime, of course, called Toxic Love Story. And if you haven't watched it, you better go and watch it. It's literally like full of twists. You think the story goes one way and suddenly blah, something changes. And then when you finally know who's been convicted and everything, whoop, new things come to light. So it's a crazy ride, that documentary. Wild, so wild, but so interesting. So I will 100% recommend that. I have also started watching this other series of tiny documentaries. Like one episode is a different case about, what is it called again? 1 second, let me check on my Netflix app. Because I have thoroughly enjoyed them. They are quite good in the way that they are told, etc. So, homicide. How do you pronounce this word? 1 second. Google, help me. Homicide, as I said, right? So, Homicide, New York. It's been really, really enjoyable, as I said. Then on Saturday, I met with the Spanish gang around my area. So that's been great. I love having these meetings. We meet once a month. So that's great. I have been working behind the scenes a lot for my next pageant. I still haven't got my sash, and I am so impatient. I really want to announce what pageant I'm doing, and I can't. So I am so impatient. I want to know. I want to just talk about the pageant that I'm doing and start properly prepping and start talking about it more openly on social media. I celebrated 2 years of my engagement on the 23rd of July. So reminiscing back again about that beautiful time in Brooklyn Bridge where I got proposed to. To celebrate, we went to Pizza Express. I love Pizza Express because it's one of the few places where they do vegan and gluten-free pizzas. So that's amazing. And we went and took this offer that was like bottomless pizza for £12.50. So each person paid £12 50, and you could get as many pizzas and doubles as you could have in an hour and a half. The caveat was like you can only order the next pizza once you have eaten more than half of your current pizza. So it was great challenge. I didn't manage to eat a lot, so I just ate one pizza and a half and one set of doubles, which was a lot, to be honest. But it was nice. It was nice and good. And other than that, that's pretty much been it. A lot of work, a lot of things, like when the summer hits, a lot of people being out and about, and coverage, things get more complicated, more crazy. So yeah, that's been pretty much it. Not loads going on. In terms of holidays for me this year, there is really not going to be any. As you know, we've done our 4th cycle of IVF this year. So can you imagine where all my money has gone to IVF? So I literally have no money whatsoever for fun stuff like holidays. So holidays will be something to do next year, hopefully. So that's it. That's pretty much it. This is going to be me for the rest of the summer until I see you again in September. I'm just going to be watching true crime documentaries on Netflix and Prime and Disney. That's all that I'm going to be doing. Going out on my walks, which I'm really enjoying, getting back into Pilates. And that's it. That's going to be me for the summer. And then on September 6th, we have our event. So please remember to go to the description below and click the link to buy tickets. It's going to be amazing. We already have 2 sponsors part of it that we're going to be announcing soon. We are pending a couple more sponsors to join. We have a really cool day plan. And also what we want to hear from you is, what do you want our panel to be about? So we're just going to be doing 2 episodes, 2 live podcast episodes. And they're going to be panel interviews. So we're just going to have a couple of people, ideally. But we want to know exactly what you want to hear about. So please get in touch. Let us know in the comments. Send us a DM on Instagram, a DM on TikTok. Send us an email to tell us exactly what you want to hear about. Because at the end of the day, this podcast is for you guys. And without further ado, let's introduce our guest. Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Well, we have on the podcast today Martina Loebenberg. I have known Martina for, how many years? Before COVID, that's for sure, because then when we were like...
Years, 7 years? Maybe?
Yeah, probably. And we've met through bodybuilding, actually. We met at a photo shoot for a brand called Chalice Blade. And I have been following all the stories that she had been putting out and stuff about going through perimenopause and some of the struggles that she had to be able to get prescribed certain medications. So I thought, you know what? I think she's this person to talk about perimenopause as someone that has actually gone through it and has fought for what she needed. So welcome to the podcast, Martina. How are you?
Thank you for having me. No, it's a really interesting topic because when I first started going through this, so I'm 44 now, I probably started really struggling with my symptoms at only 36, 37. So the doctors never even took it seriously that it could be my hormones. And at that time, there just wasn't much information. So I didn't connect the dots either. And now we're in a time where there's so much information online about this. And there's so many people sharing their journeys as social media becomes an online diary,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yep.
that, yeah, I'm really glad that other people now have access to information that just might help them make their journey a little bit easier, because I honestly went through hell
Yes.
to get any type of like doctor to take it seriously. I also ended up having to go private as well, which is incredibly
Mm.
expensive.
Yeah. So a lot of people might not know you that are listening to the podcast on a regular basis. So can you introduce yourself, and then we'll start with more juicy questions regarding perimenopause?
Yeah, so I suppose as you said, we met bodybuilding. So I used to compete in bodybuilding competitions for almost 10 years in my 30s. And I never really knew if all my symptoms and everything I was going through was just exhaustion from overtraining and the gym and the lifestyle I was leading. And it kind of prevented me from taking things seriously as well. And as I came away from bodybuilding, I think I just turned 40 or 41 when I did my last show. Um, I started to notice all my symptoms, and I started to focus on my career, and I actually couldn't focus on my career because of some of the symptoms. So
Yeah.
it's kind of, I've moved away from bodybuilding now. I'm a corporate girly, focusing on my career, but trying to navigate still horrific symptoms, because I haven't been one of the lucky ones that just has, you know, like a few of the symptoms. I found it quite debilitating at times. But yeah, now I live in Dubai with my boyfriend, my cats, and indefinite lifestyle has again really shown me some of my struggles. It's quite an
Mm.
out lifestyle, you know, being in the
Yep.
sun. I don't have any energy to go to the gym anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Let's
yeah.
talk about those symptoms that you maybe start getting at the beginning that you were confusing with. Is I'm overdoing it at the gym.
So I think it's important to note that my mom went through menopause at 44, and her
Oh wow.
sister was 45, and I didn't know this at the time. My first, if I really think about it, symptom was insomnia. I had insomnia from my very early 30s, and I just thought it was my lifestyle. London girl, trying to fit everything in, you know, 100 miles an hour. And then when I started to do bodybuilding as well, I was drinking a lot of energy drinks and pre-workout. And that was from like 32. And yeah, I just thought, you know, life is manic. But then COVID hit, and COVID really forced us all to
Yep.
reassess where we live, right? I was in a flat that's not much bigger than this room for 3 months on my own. All of a sudden, the gym's taken away, all the noise. I'm working from home for the first time. And I started to realize that, yes, some of the symptoms weren't just insomnia. I was starting to be super anxious, but I didn't know why. I've always had anxiety on and off for certain reasons. You have a breakup, you've got something stressful at work. All of a sudden, it was for no reason. I started to feel quite low and quite anxious out of the blue. That persisted for years. And I just thought it was mental health, you know, that it
Yeah.
was depression, or it was related to COVID, and that it was like childhood trauma has caused
Yep.
this, you know, so you can never really pinpoint, is it perimenopause? Is it my symptoms? Is it trauma? Is it ADHD, which is something I was diagnosed with since all of these symptoms arose? Insomnia was the first thing. I think anxiety and feel like low mood was the second. I could deal with those two things. It just felt like lifestyle in London. Then in my late 30s, I just stopped recognizing who I am as a person. I'm very strong in, I know who I am. I think like I've always been quite sharp. Like I connect the dots really easily. Now I know I've got ADHD, so that makes sense. But all of a sudden I couldn't do that. I'd lost my resilience to anything stressful. I was just,
Yeah.
I'd cry all the time. That wasn't me. And I couldn't think fast like I used to. And that was a real problem because I ran an operations team in my
Mm.
corporate job. So it's the kind of job where you're spinning a lot of plates, a lot of project management, and I just felt incapable and incompetent all of a sudden.
Mhm.
Brain fog, and then this just debilitating fatigue. And that was like early 40s, very early 40s. And
Mhm.
I kept going to the doctor and I kept asking them, like, what's going on? No one talked to me about my hormones. It was always
Mm.
about depression and
Yeah.
go to therapy, prescribe me antidepressants. None of it helped, like the
Yeah.
antidepressants, I must say, did help for a few months with the resilience factor.
Mhm.
It did help blunt my emotions so I wasn't crying all the time, which helped me on the next bit of my journey, which was advocating for myself because no doctor, they were always so well-meaning, but
Mhm.
not one of them ever kind of said to me,
Said
bless your
maybe.
hormones. Yeah, you're
Mhm.
young, but there was none of that. And I had
Yeah.
female doctors, I had male doctors, all different ages. And I
Yeah.
just never was there one person that worked in the medical industry that said to me, let's look at this. It
Yeah.
had to be me coming back, sharing on my Instagram. It was almost a cry for help, my
Yeah.
sharing, because I was just so, I didn't know myself anymore. I didn't know where to
Yeah.
go. And luckily just had the most wonderful followers that would offer me some of their own advice and their own, like what they've been through, that helped push me into the
Mm.
right path for
Yeah.
myself. That's why I kept sharing, because I thought, I haven't seen any of this. If I can help one person to access the care they need, happy days.
Exactly. And I think it's something that we're seeing very often, right? Um, Medical professionals right now, they are not like you go with a problem and everything is just like whatever they have in their checklist, right? Whatever,
Yeah.
this is not it. And then when you go and advocate for yourself and say like, oh, I've done this research and I've seen this, don't believe everything that you see on the internet. They
Yeah.
get really pissed off when you come with your own research. And it's annoying that you have to really push so much to be heard and just be taken seriously and just go to the next step to just get whatever. And as
Yeah.
you said, you had to go private. It was not through the NHS. You had to push and just go private. Was that an easy process to go private, or you also had to? Was it also hard to try to get someone on the private sector to listen to you?
It was really interesting because there became a breaking point where I couldn't go any further. And it started just the scariest, most intrusive thoughts came out of nowhere.
Mm.
I've
Yep.
just ended my life. Like, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
because of the insomnia, I was taking sleeping tablets every night. I've had these sleeping tablets, and I remember just giving them to my partner at the time and saying, look, I need you to just give me one a day, because it's like there was these urges or impulses to just take them all. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know where it was coming from. It wasn't a conscious, it
Yeah.
was terrifying. And
Mm-hmm.
that when I sat in that doctor's room and I said, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving until you refer me to the world and its wife for,
Mm-hmm.
I got referred for ADHD assessment, for autism assessment. We referred for like psychotherapy instead of just the regular therapy, like to a
Mm-hmm.
psychiatrist to see if there was anything else.
Yeah.
Presence, the full suite of blood tests, like, but
Mm-hmm.
I really had to push. When those blood tests came back, I was told everything's within the normal range.
Mm.
It's fine.
Typical answer.
Yeah, but God bless ChatGPT, I must say. And don't believe everything you read. And there's
Yeah.
definitely flaws with using AI. But what it did do is it helped me to understand my blood test results. So I did put my blood test results in. Maybe not everyone's comfortable doing that, but I was desperate. And
Mm-hmm.
it really helped me to interpret that while I was within the normal range for the NHS, I was right at the end, and I really, to feel better and to have some vitality, I really needed to address those hormonal imbalances. And
Mm-hmm.
so the reason I went private is I just wasn't getting what I needed from the NHS. They were telling me it was normal. They would
Yep.
have prescribed me HRT at the time because I was normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a friend who's just a little bit older than me. She's just 5 years older than me, but she's on that same pathway, and she worked as a PA for a doctor. And she said, speak to this doctor as a private appointment. She's brilliant. She prescribed me my HRT. And she never looked back. She felt better than she'd ever felt at 48. And I was like, I need this.
Yeah.
So I remember I forgot that I had a doctor's appointment. So I was sitting in my car and I did this. I was 1 hour call with this doctor in my car. It cost me about £350. But I walked away from there. All I did was tell her all of my symptoms, how bad it had been, how hard
Mm.
I'd been advocating for myself at the NHS doctors, but they just weren't helping. And
Yeah.
she just said to me, you didn't even need blood tests. From your symptoms, I would have prescribed you estrogen and progesterone were the two that she prescribed me. And she's like, I'm going to give you this prescription, have a few months, and then we could think about doing a shared care with the NHS, so I could get my prescription and find my dosage with the private doctor, and then I could transfer my prescription onto the NHS, which would make it a lot cheaper because private prescription medication is expensive.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But when I worked it out, because the NHS was only giving like a month at a time of any type of medication I was on, the private prescriptions themselves actually didn't work out that much more expensive. It was like £20 more a month when I actually like worked out the costs. So although it sounds like a lot, don't be put off, anyone that's listening, that you have to pay, because sometimes it might actually be cheaper or just marginally.
Yeah. I think it's one of the things like hormones in general, how much affects women overall. And you will think that we've been studying hormones, I'm pretty sure, or we should have been studying hormones and the effect of hormones for a very long time. I guess because, as usual, it doesn't really affect men, doesn't get studied. That's the problem. But I found that when I was going through IVF, the amount of hormones that I was putting into my body, how much it affected me. And I got to a point as well that I was having those really dark thoughts. And I was like, I cannot have this, So I cannot even imagine if this is obviously something that I'm putting myself, I had to put myself through if I want to have a family, right? But perimenopause is happening to every single woman in the planet. Why there hasn't been more studies on this, and why it's not something that is being checked on, as you said, as early as mid-30s? Because I know maybe not everybody starts having those symptoms in early 30s, but from mid-30s, a lot of women start having this type of symptoms. And I've got some screenshots of things that I found, and it says like obviously the sleep issues. Then one thing that you've mentioned that I was when I did the screenshot, I was like, oh, this is interesting, right? And it was like ADHD traits amplify. So like you might find that your neurodivergent traits become more intense than they were. And maybe, as you said, like things that you maybe were not aware of this, and then suddenly you get diagnosed with it through going through your perimenopause, because you're finding, as you said, it says like difficult to kind of like concentrate, and things that you were used to doing before, it was really, really, really hard, struggling to juggle it all. You feel more stress, something feels off. And then, as you said, like you don't feel yourself, you have these depressive thoughts.
I think it's really difficult to get to your early 40s and have a real strong sense of self, and then to lose. That was the most disorientating thing, is like you can be exhausted, you can lose your libido, you can like, etc. But you know who you are. And all of a sudden, I had no recognition of this person. The way I was thinking was different. The way I was feeling was different. But, we go through phases where we feel rubbish, right? And good again.
Yeah.
Not understanding the reactions I was having, like I just was a different person. And I don't even know if I've ever gone back. Like I've been taking HRT for 2 years now, and it's not the magic pill by any means. It's definitely helped. But going back to the ADHD thing, it's just really interesting to me that apparently it's really hard to diagnose a female child. Then when they're neurodivergent because females mask so much.
Yeah.
And most prevalent times to be diagnosed for neurodivergence is as a teenager when your hormones are flaring, and as somebody in perimenopause when your hormones are flaring again. And I've really did a lot more reading into it. And apparently, if you have ADHD and perhaps other neurodivergent traits, but
Yeah.
I was specifically looking at ADHD, you can experience much more extreme perimenopause symptoms when
Oh,
some people
okay.
might, just because of the way your body
Mm-hmm.
dopamine and things like that. So yeah, it was a lot to take on at once, like finding out, yes, your hormones are on the floor, that they were so low. They were so low that I probably haven't ovulated for years properly or consistently.
Wow.
I can always tell when I've ovulated. And right now, I don't think I've ovulated for 3 months,
Mm.
because my progesterone is so low. And that's the one thing that hasn't helped me in my HRT is I can't take the progesterone without it making me feel like I've been hit by a hammer the next
Yeah,
day.
because progesterone relaxes you a lot and makes you like
Yeah.
sleepy and tired.
Take it at bedtime, and then the next day I just feel so groggy and I feel like I've been hit around the back of the head. And we've tried everything, and I just don't know how I'm going to address the progesterone. It's something I'm still working on with the doctor. But I've remained with the private doctor. I actually went to a menopause clinic in the end. Bupa, I haven't gone with, but I have heard they actually include some follow-up appointments in their initial charge. So they charge the same, and you're
Mhm.
looking currently at around £300 to £400 for the
Yeah.
initial consultation. But yeah, with Bupa, some of my followers and my friends have told me that they also got 2 follow-up. My doctor,
Mhm.
I just literally Googled Birmingham menopause doctor because I was living
Mhm.
in Birmingham at the time. And now we do it as long as I do one video call with her a year. She's happy to help adjust my dosage and to work on my kind of case by email. So that's been
Mhm.
helpful.
That's great. I mean, I've mentioned this in a couple of episodes, and it's one of the things that makes me really angry about the UK, and it's the private medical insurance.
Mm,
So in Spain, when you have a private medical insurance, you pay monthly an amount, like what would be like £50 or what, like same thing as here. You pay monthly
yeah.
for it. But then you have a list of places that you can go straight away and make an appointment. You don't have to go through your GP. You don't have to go anything like, and you don't get charged usually an
Mm,
extra for certain appointments. Obviously, maybe if it's something huge, like a massive surgery or something like that, I don't know,
mm,
maybe you have to, but you don't pay for anything else. And it's like, why the UK doesn't adopt the same thing? Like
yeah.
Bupa, all of these other ones, please make sure that you look into the Spanish system because I think, that's the way to go. It's not fair that you have to pay £50, £60 or whatever it is a month, plus then
Yeah.
the appointments and everything like that.
Yeah. I feel so privileged because I don't, I'm in a position where I can pay because I don't have family actually. So I always thought I would have kids, and this early menopause has kind of taken that choice away from me because I'm not ovulating anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's been something to deal with on the side as well, is like, I probably won't have my own children
Yeah.
now. And I didn't know if I was in that place yet to make that
Yeah.
decision. Um, but the hidden side effects of perimenopause as well, like the bone density and the stuff that you lose. And you
I
do
didn't
lose
know
your,
that.
yeah, you lose your bone density as you age. And the one thing to keep it strong and therefore keep you strong is resistance training, so weightlifting. And
Oh.
one thing I cannot do is muster the energy to go to the gym unless I've
Mhm.
got a personal trainer, which again,
Yeah.
most people, especially women in their 40s, generally, and I am generalizing, but they have a family to look
Yeah.
after.
You
And
don't have the
they're,
money.
yeah, of course. Whereas I was just lucky that my whole salary goes to me and my cat. But, there's so many women are not in that position, and then they are stuck at the mercy of the NHS. And the other thing I think I had going for me is I'm naturally quite a bossy person because of my job. I'm used to like I'm
Same.
used to a lot of change management and a lot of friction at work. So I had the ability to keep going back to the doctor and pushing and pushing and pushing. But most people don't feel that. If they've lost their resilience and also they're not that type of dominant
Mhm.
personality that I am, they're going to give up quite soon. And then they're going to go years without accessing any support, whether that be HRT or something else. They're just not going to be able to access it, and they're going to continue to probably feel worse
Mhm.
for years, and
Yeah.
that's what makes me really angry, is that we have to fight so hard
Hard.
for something that happens to everyone. And then there's
Mhm.
this generation above us that say, well, we were fine. We didn't have to do all of this. We didn't have podcasts about
Yeah.
perimenopause. They also didn't lead the same lifestyle as us.
Exactly. I was gonna say,
Much
like, probably even the environmental um, situation that we are living at the moment was clearly not part of their
sure.
timeline. So
Yeah, I'm sure I'm not like that is in the generation that had a different type of stress. But the kind
yes.
of stress that we're all under, and even just this internet, constant stimulation,
Mhm.
uh, working, crazy ways of working now since COVID, right? Everyone overworks
Yes.
and is underpaid.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people are having multiple jobs, juggling families, like trying to have a hobby, trying to keep the house clean,
Yeah. Oh
like
my God.
pressures of the modern woman. And then all of a sudden we've got terrible nutrition as well. Even the healthy food, it just
Yeah.
doesn't have in it what it used to have. Higher alcohol intake, probably. All these things that I think maybe the women before us didn't have, that we have
Agreed.
affecting us, just exacerbates the hormonal changes and the kind of side effects of that. Brain fog wouldn't be such an issue if I didn't have the type of job I have. I choose
Agree.
to have a job, but I couldn't afford my life if I
Yeah.
didn't. So it's like a vicious circle.
Yeah, and you know what? Like now that we're talking about this, um, obviously I attributed a lot of the things that were happening to me to going through IVF. I'm 38 now, but I was going through IVF part of my 36, 37, and 38, right? But maybe now I'm thinking like, well, yes, obviously there was a lot of hormones in there, but now I'm kind of like saying like maybe I need to start checking my hormones, because the other day when I was at work the last few months, like I have been saying like I need to add reminders for absolutely everything. I feel like I'm having Alzheimer's because I'm forgetting a lot of things. And then if it's not in the calendar somewhere, if it's not in my calendar in my phone, if it's not on a meeting note or something,
Yeah.
I'll forget. And please,
Yeah.
I am so sorry if you tell me something, I'm like, what was that? Because it's not like I was not listening. It's just like it's gone.
Yeah. Do you know, it's names for me. Like when
Yeah.
your grandmother used to forget everyone's name, they used to say all the siblings' names before yours. I know that person. And I don't know if it is naturally age anyway. Like maybe I'll
Mhm.
just full up,
Yeah.
and then,
Yes.
but I'm like, what's your name? And it is affecting like my credibility, what I feel like it's affecting my credibility at work, because
Yeah.
I'm just not on the ball like I
Yeah.
used to be. And
Yeah.
thank goodness I have a remote based job. So I don't have anyone looking me in the eye in the office asking me a question where I've got to think about it straight away. So
Yeah.
the women that do have in person roles or like those
Mhm.
in person interactions, God bless them, because
Yeah.
I really do feel like I can hide behind the fact that I do have a remote based job. But then
Yeah.
equally, social interaction would have really helped me through some of the more debilitating times where I
Mhm.
just shut myself away. I worked from home. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't bother with my friends. That's been a big change. It's like I had in COVID, this big group of friends from bodybuilding. It took a lot of effort to stay in touch with everyone, and I really enjoyed it actually.
Mhm.
And then as I started to lose my resilience and my ability to cope, WhatsApp and Instagram messages became absolute enemy. And I couldn't, and I've never come back to being good at messaging. My
Yeah.
tolerance for small talk as well, God,
Me too.
like, I don't want to know how someone's weekend was if it's boring, but did you do something really weird? Then we can talk about it. And I think that's also my ADHD. It's merging into this new creature in my mid 40s that
Mm.
there's real pros from getting older and aging, but I
Mhm.
haven't found this kind of like freedom in my 40s because of my perimenopause symptoms. It's made it hell. And
Yeah.
I'm truly just dying for menopause to
Yeah.
think.
So it's just
I
like
know
it's
that,
gone out of the window and then
yeah,
you can be yourself again.
has its own probably range of symptoms. I
Yeah.
just feel it's the roller coaster of this hormonal journey that I'm on. And even though I take the full suite, I mean, I haven't been taking progesterone, but I do have estrogen. And then a menopause clinic can prescribe you testosterone as well. The NHS won't unless you see a
Mhm.
specialist. And the testosterone gave me a little bit more energy and a bit more vitality, but I've never gone back to who I was before. And maybe the missing piece of the puzzle is my progesterone,
Yeah.
but I just don't know how to take it and for it to work for me, that I can still get up and function. I hit burnout really badly last year. I was in a really stressful job and trying to navigate that at the same time as navigating the changes from my hormones was hell on earth.
Yeah. I
Like,
bet. I
so
bet.
many people are going through this same thing and think that they're the only one.
And I think it's even extra because you are in certain jobs, in certain positions, and then you feel like because you're a woman, you need to kind of like prove yourself even extra. You're already anxious because of all the hormones, the perimenopause, plus the extra anxiety that you're putting on yourself because you want to prove that you can do it and you can be great at this. It's just not great, is it?
No. And then if you have a partner, your poor partner,
I was
you
gonna
know,
say like that was my next question. Like how
no.
has it affected your relationship?
Yeah. So in my last relationship, which is when this all really like rose up, and it's before my ADHD diagnosis, it's before I actually accessed like um hormonal assistance. We just didn't know what was wrong.
Mhm.
And it didn't help that he was neurotypical and I'm neurodivergent, but we didn't know. So he just
Mhm.
thought I was an alien. I thought he was an alien. There was no, but that kind of lack of support that was there for me then really influenced these feelings of isolation and loneliness that are amplified through you losing
Yeah.
yourself. You're losing yourself at that time, the person you recognize. And now I'm in a relationship with somebody that I was in the real thick of it when he turned up, like, so he knew from day one, this is something that
Mhm.
is it's a big thing that's happening. But he's been actually so gracious and like understanding. I knew I must have been bad when he told me, "Oh, I've been listening to podcasts about perimenopause." I was thinking, why? Am I that bad? You need to understand it. But he's somebody that's willing to do that work and has the capacity to do that work as well and try
Mhm.
to understand it a little bit has been a godsend. And I know that that's not always going to happen for everyone. They might have a partner that A, doesn't have the capacity to do that, or
Mhm.
B, don't want to. There's lots and lots of people out there that their partner's going through something and they don't want to get
Yeah.
involved with support. And I think that would have been really difficult for me to go through the worst of it if I didn't have this understanding at home, especially around my libido, which has gone, like,
Yeah.
yeah, really.
Literally. I mean, we're going to talk about that right now, but um, on the comment that you made on, when you're going through certain things, like your partners, not all of them are ready to take on that. Like we see that with women after, like in postpartum,
Yeah,
a lot. We're seeing now in perimenopause and menopause. It's like, give us a break, give us
yeah,
people, like give us partners, please, that will understand this. And I
yeah,
think more men should be listening to podcasts like this or reading information to be able to support their partners because, men, we cannot catch a break.
yeah,
It's one
yeah.
thing after the other.
I have always I've never felt old, like
No,
I've never
you
really
look very young as well.
it does help, but I never kind of compared myself to younger women, anything like that. But now I have this like nagging voice in my mind that this is why men leave women in their 40s, 50s and get with younger women. And it's like almost
Mm-hmm.
eating away at me without me naming it until
Yeah.
now, that there is this kind of little voice thinking, this is why men trade women at your age in. It's nothing
Yeah.
to do with the way we look, or they just can't be there for us. They don't understand. When you're going through it, perhaps you aren't always communicative about, or you don't
Yeah.
know
You
this
don't
thing.
know, probably. Yeah.
It is such a tough thing to go through for yourself, but also for your family, and your friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you do change because you're struggling.
Yeah.
And it, depending on the support you've been accessing, if you've been able to, or how long you've had to wait, or if you have even recognized it and then done something, can be years and years before that changes,
Yeah.
And I think that in this day and age where everything's so convenient and replaceable and you can swipe and you can get this validation online,
Mm-hmm.
it is, I think, quite scary. And the people that stay, we should really celebrate them as well, because it's such a big ask to
Mm-hmm.
ask someone to go through some of the things that I've put him through.
Yeah.
Everyone's different and everyone experiences different symptoms and everyone has different ways of
Mm-hmm.
coping. I just straight up didn't cope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I was struggling.
You've mentioned libido, and then obviously you've been also on bodybuilding.
Mm.
When your body fat was really, really low, did you have a libido as you usually have or not? And how does that change? And obviously, like, how do we navigate this with our partners?
Yeah, it's interesting because I had a very different, even when I was bodybuilding, a very different lifestyle. My boyfriends were much younger.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find someone my own age that wanted to deal with the fact that at a stage of my life, I was prioritizing this fitness
Mm-hmm.
fanatic hobby. I was ended up being with younger guys. That in itself kind of, it's a more physical dynamic,
Yeah.
right? So I didn't struggle too much then. I struggled with feelings of not feeling sexy because I was so lean.
Yeah.
But it wasn't related to kind of, I didn't go through the withdrawal that a lot of people do with their sex hormones then. Uh, my change was as my body changed back to a more usual look. I'm
Okay.
not muscly anymore, have a higher body fat percentage. I don't feel great about the way I look all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Cellulite, all the things that a normal woman has.
Yeah.
I spent many years not having that because I was too lean. And let's be honest, we were too lean, right?
We
We
were too
weren't
lean. Yeah.
looking, it wasn't a good look and it didn't feel great in other ways. But it just meant that I had a flatter stomach, I had less cellulite, and I had to really suffer to get there. But now living my life and having this softer body, and that's given me also less desire to want to be naked because I'm
Mm-hmm.
confident in myself. And it all just comes back to, again, not recognizing myself, not knowing who I am. I lost that piece of myself. It kind of shuffled all the other pieces, they fell over. They're still there. I'm sure my libido's still there somewhere, but definitely not where some of my friends talk about theirs being, for
Mm-hmm.
example. And I just think in that point, again, you've just got to be super open and aware with yourself and with your partner. And don't ever compare yourself against somebody else and what they're going through or how they're living at your stage of life, because we're all so different. And especially hormones, every day your hormones are different. Sometimes at the
Yeah.
time of day, they're
Yeah.
different. So, yeah, it's so easy to compare yourself to, say, people seeing how I've come out of the other end a little bit. There's still issues, and they're thinking, "Oh my God, I'm never going to get there." I did a lot of the work, and I had to
Mm-hmm.
really, really fight. And I just hope that people that are listening to this can find it within themselves to do it, because you don't feel like it's possible. You don't feel like you've even got the
Mm-hmm.
energy to go to the doctor, and let alone to really advocate for yourself. But if you don't do it, you're not going to come out the other side feeling a bit
Yeah.
more human.
Yeah, as you said, like we're very similar, right? We're used to like fight and just we're used to like to just not like stand our ground and just go in and
Yeah.
just do that. But do you have any tips for women that might not be there, but they really want to advocate for themselves? What should they do? What would be the first step?
I think going in with just a small plan, like, and not necessarily like this is what it's going to look like, but these are the things that I must do. And for me, it was like, don't let them just tell you that everything's normal. Everything's fine in your bloods, but it's not fine because I feel like shit.
Yeah.
So at first, I was just, they would say everything's normal, get some sleep, go to the gym, but eat something healthy. But if you know that something's not normal, just go in there with that plan of like, I will not let them tell me it's normal. By the time I leave here, something is going to have changed. They're going to have referred you to something, whatever that is for you situation. And then don't be afraid to use things like ChatGPT to help you to make a plan. I told it everything. Like, I I literally, and the thing is with ChatGPT and other LLMs, you can just do it in the microphone. You can just talk away. And that's how I do it. It's super easy. I don't have to sit down and type. I didn't have it was just an obligation to do that. But it really helped me to understand how I could advocate for myself and why. I couldn't rely on my friends and family to do that. I didn't feel like it was fair. They hadn't been through it before. And ChatGPT, again, it's not going to give you 100% of everything you need. It's better than. But I think just going in there and just not being told things are normal when it clearly doesn't feel normal, that's the biggest tip I would give, is just don't let them fob you off. I refused to leave one day. I just said, I'm not going until you've referred me to, like, we explore something. And I went back to that NHS doctor, I reckon every 3 weeks for about a year and a half, just trying to work it out. I just kept booking appointments.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Sick me, but I was terrified because of these intrusive thoughts, and I just thought, it's not going down like that. So I really was just trying to help myself, and I'm just, luckily for me, in the end, somebody did listen. I wish I had gone to. I couldn't afford to go private when it all first started. Only something that came later, so I had to explore the NHS avenue. And they did eventually prescribe me estrogen and progesterone on the NHS. So that was in the same call where the doctor said, your blood tests are fine. But I'd already put my blood tests into ChatGPT. And I said, well, look at whatever it was that I needed. I said, it should be 1.5 or whatever it might be. I said, but it's not, it's 0.9. And he said, yeah, we could try HRT if you want. And it was that, like, so flippant. And in that, if I just accepted that he said things are normal, I wouldn't have had my prescription in the end. I'd already been prescribed privately. That was the annoying thing. But I wanted to see the NHS would be able to give me that prescription, because it is, you get a menopause certificate for your prescription in the UK. So for a year, it's £20. And then all of your prescriptions for the year are £20 once you've prescribed menopause medication and HRT.
Okay. I mean, we've mentioned this a couple of times. We always need to advocate for ourselves. You know your body. You know what is right and what is wrong.
Yeah.
I remember when I first came to the UK, when I wanted to go into, like, I needed to get my birth control, right? And I knew the only one that will really work for me was the Nuva ring, like the vaginal ring. And they wanted to give me the pill, the implant, and said, like, no, like, I know I cannot have this. It needs to be this. It took me 4 times and crying in my last appointment for them to give it to me. With my endometriosis, it was something similar here. They were like, no, that's normal. It's because you just came out of your birth control. That's why everything is painful. Like, it's your body's adjusting. Even like my sister is a gynecologist. Even my sister was telling me, like, no, you don't have endometriosis, because they are programmed to just ABC, right?
Yeah.
it didn't take until I had to say, like, this is impossible. I might have to have something. And until the last very, very scans for IVF that they found it already too late. And I'm like, well, it would have been nice to know this earlier. So I didn't have to go into IVF at 36. I could have frozen my eggs in my 20s. That would be better quality, right? So yeah, make sure that you advocate for yourself. And as Martina said, go in with the study made and already mentioning certain things that is going to make them actually say, like, okay, maybe she knows what she's talking about. Let's
It's
look
funny
into it.
because some countries are catching up. I literally just before this call, I saw that Australia are rolling out. So they have endometriosis. I can't say it. Endo and pelvic pain. They've got 33 clinics in
Oh, wow.
Australia. And going forward, you will be able to access personalized menopause and perimenopause support through those clinics, which I believe are public, so our version of the NHS, I believe. But just the fact that their government or their healthcare board has deemed that, yes, we recognize that the support is lacking, I think is really important. I have seen a lot of doctors online that specialize in treating hormonal and perimenopausal kind of be dragged through the mud because they are putting people on higher doses than the NHS should and different kind of treatment plans. But again, I just think you have to weigh up whether it's right for you or not. You know, somebody told me that they struggling with the progesterone symptoms as well, and actually they doubled their progesterone and they feel much better. So, you know, ordinarily you wouldn't be able to do that through an NHS doctor. That's a specialist, and that's when it's worth perhaps spending that little bit of money if you can to get that more tailored and experiment a little bit, because that is something that I'm going to speak to my doctor about now. Is it worth trying this? But having that knowledge and consuming it online and not believing everything you read online, but using it to help shape what's right for you, I think is also the key. Like, it's going there and being told, no, I know it's not okay, so stop fobbing me off. But also, perhaps you have seen something you can ask them. The thing, NHS, they don't spend much time learning about this, right? They've got the GPs have got such a broad range of expertise. They're not experts in everything. You know, we've all been at the doctor and seen them Google our symptoms in front of us. Expect them to be. So I think that if you don't get the results or the conversation that you really needed from the doctor you've seen at your GP practice, it's your prerogative to ask for an appointment with a different doctor in that same practice, you know?
Yeah, agree. Absolutely agree. Okay, so I think that's a great way to finish. So if anybody wants to follow your journey and just see everything that you've shared and see everything you will be sharing, where can they find you?
I share about my hormones more on my old bodybuilding page, which is Lifestyle by Martina. But to be honest, I don't post on there that much anymore because I'm just trying to live my life, you know.
That's good, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to focus on things. I do have a personal page, which is Martina Loeb, which people are welcome to follow. And then you can just see all my cat and food posts, if that interests you.
And is there maybe any resources that you've read or podcasts that you've listened to or people that you follow that have helped you that they might find helpful?
Do you know, I find that the celebrities that are starting to talk about it are really good because they access some really good quality information. So I've seen Halle Berry talking a lot about her menopause journey recently with Lisa Snowdon from the UK. She has been posting. There's a Dr. Louise Newson. She's kind of like the creme de la creme of menopause doctors in the UK. And if you go onto a page like that, it will tell you that you might be interested in these other type of pages. And everyone consumes, like, you know, we're all stimulated by different types of content. So I think it's finding the right pages for you. But Louise Newson is definitely a really good anchor point into finding information about like medical information, as well as listen to the influencers and the celebrities, because they're talking about their own personal experiences, something you could resonate in. None of us are the same, so you can't just go to one doctor and hear. I think it's so important to listen to everyone and just keep fighting for yourself, because you can feel better. You're probably never going to go back to feeling how you did before, because we're all getting older. We have to be realistic. But 3 days after I started taking the estrogen, I could think again. You know, my brain fog was gone. That unlocked so much more for me. The fatigue is still a bit of an issue, but I can function now. You know, I've actually got no excuse not to go to the gym anymore. But
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I think it's been a great talk. And thank you for everybody for listening to another episode of the Females Thriving Over 30 podcast. Make sure that if you're available on the 6th of September, you go down and click the link to our live event because it's going to be incredible. See you in the next season on the 6th of September. Bye.